before I get on with the video, I just want to clear something up. I know I said in my last video that I was going to see that new A24 movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I was going to, but then after filming that video, I looked up times on when would be a good time I can go see the movie, and it turns out no theaters near my house are even playing the movie, which sucks because I really wanted to see that movie, and the closest theater showing it was like 2 hours away, and I don't want to drive 2 hours away just to watch one movie. So I do apologize if anybody was looking forward to a review for that. But with that being said, let's talk about Morbius. Morbius is the next entry in Sony's second attempt to make a Spider-Man universe out of the Spider-Man characters that they own. It stars Jared Leto as Dr. Michael Morbius and is directed by Daniel Espinoza. And this movie tells the story of Dr. Michael Morbius, who has this really rare and dangerous blood disorder, and he spent his entire life looking for a cure. And when he finally does develop a cure, the side effect is he turns into this blood-sucking vampire if he doesn't learn how to keep it under control. So even though I was not a fan at all of the two Venom movies that Sony did, I was still pulling through for them because I think a Spider-Man universe of just Spider-Man characters could be really cool to see if they got better writers and better directors to do it. And I thought the trailers for Morbius looked pretty cool. I like Jared Leto a lot as an actor, and while I haven't seen a lot of Daniel Espinoza's movie, I was a huge fan of his movie Life that came out in 2017. I think this is a very underrated movie. So it seemed like, at least by the trailers, that Sony was finally going to give us a good Spider-Man movie for their, or Spider-Man related movie for their Spider-Man universe. But just like Venom 1 and 2, I was horribly mistaken once again. Morbius was pretty tough to get through, guys. This movie was honestly more messy than the two Venom movies that Sony did, but let's talk about what I kind of liked about the movie first to kind of start off positive. I thought Jared Leto was pretty good in the movie. I know some people are kind of 50-50 with him. Some people like his method of acting, some people don't. I kind of do. I think he's a very interesting actor, and I thought he did good in the movie. There's a few moments of action that I thought were pretty entertaining. There's this chase sequence in the subway tunnel. I thought that mostly was well filmed. That's pretty much it. Yeah, after thinking about it overnight, that is pretty much all that I enjoyed in this movie. Jared Leto and a couple moments here and there of action. Like I said, this is a very messy movie, and I think it all comes down to the script. The script for this movie is just so lazy. There's nothing new here. It is the exact same layout of a comic book origin story that we have seen dozens of times better in other comic book movies. And that's something that I see Sony is doing with this universe. They're just making generic-ass stories. And I don't understand why. They have the entire catalog of Spider-Man characters. They could do some cool and interesting things with these movies, yet they're just making cookie-cutter, generic-ass stuff, and it just isn't working. On top of that, the movie feels completely butchered in editing. The editing in this movie is absolutely horrible. I was not a fan of some of the editing choices that they did in this movie. For instance, there was a scene earlier on with Jared Leto and the main girl in the movie. I don't remember her name and I don't remember the actress's name, but they're in this lab talking to each other. It's just a simple scene where they're just talking expository dialogue, but the camera is filming them behind this giant glass dome, and that's the focus of the scene. And I'm like, why are you showing it on this angle? I don't know if they were trying to do something artsy with that, but it just didn't work. There's also editing stuff with the fights and the action sequences that I thought were really bad as well. It's not necessarily shaky cam, but there's so much going on. There's so much CGI effects going on that it's just a blur across your face and you can't really focus on what's happening. And they do that obnoxious 300 style of editing where a fight scene or a chase sequence is going on and then it'll just cut to slow motion and then it'll go back to fast motion and then it'll cut to slow motion. And it was just obnoxious as hell. It worked in 300, but it hasn't worked ever since 300. And also the film looks terrible. It's very dark and muddied and it just, nothing sticks out. It feels soulless. I really don't have another term to explain how the movie looks besides just soulless. Also, the main girl in this movie, Dr. Martine, I remembered her name now, She has nothing to do in this movie. I really have no idea why this character was in this movie. You can take her out completely, and besides a few little parts here and there, it wouldn't affect the movie at all. It is exactly what they did to Michelle Williams' character in Venom and Venom 2. She's a great actress, but she has nothing to do in those movies, so her character is very pointless. I'm sure this actress has been good in other stuff before, but she has nothing to do in this movie. It feels completely pointless. They tried making her the love interest for Michael Morbius, but I honestly didn't get that type of chemistry between the two of them. Like, if you would have just completely taken out the love connection between them that felt very forced when it actually happened, like, it honestly would have worked a lot better. Also, without getting into spoilers, there's just so much in this movie that's just completely pointless. There's so many scenes where after the scene ends, you're just like, why did that character do that? Why did this character do this? Why is this character just dancing in his apartment? Because it just cuts away after that to something completely different. There's just so much pointless stuff in this movie. This movie feels completely butchered. And I'm almost positive this movie was butchered in editing, because there are so many parts in the trailer that are nowhere to be found in this movie. And there's scenes that could have been cool or could have been funny, but they just feel chopped up. Like that scene in the trailer where at the very end, when this thug is asking Dr. Michael Morbius who he is, and he jokingly says, "I'm Venom." I'm just kidding, it's Dr. Michael Morbius at your service. You know, that scene in the trailer? Yeah, that was completely cut. He does say, "I'm Venom," just as a joke, but then after that he just says, "Now get out of here." So what seemed funny in the trailer makes no sense when they actually do it in the movie. Now, I am going to get into spoilers because I want to talk about the mid-credit scene. So if you don't want to know what happens in the mid-credit scene, skip to this time frame, but there's just something I just have to mention. If you've seen the movie, then feel free to stick around. So in the mid-credit scene, that's when we see Michael Keaton's character from Spider-Man Homecoming, the Vulture. When the multiverse stuff happened in Spider-Man No Way Home, I guess this character got transported into this Venom Morbius universe, and so he got transported to that jail, but they released him. They said in one of the mid-credit scenes that they were probably going to release him. And in the second mid-credit scene, he meets up with Dr. Morbius in his Vulture suit, and they teased the Sinister Six again. And after that scene ended, I literally said to myself, are you kidding me? Why is Sony so obsessed with trying to make a Sinister Six movie? They tried it once with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and that failed completely. Those movies were crap, and the setup for the Sinister Six was absolutely terrible, and now they're trying it again with this Venom Morbius universe? First off, why even do a Sinister Six movie if you don't even have an established Spider-Man yet? Some articles have said that it's not Andrew Garfield and it's not Tobey Maguire, and we know it's not Tom Holland because he's in the MCU, unless the multiverse thing kind of figures out a way to put him in there. But I don't want Tom Holland's Spider-Man to be mixed in with these movies. He's doing fine in the MCU. I don't want to see his Spider-Man get completely butchered by just working with Sony. So you don't even have an established Spider-Man for your universe, yet you want to make a Sinister Six movie. No, I don't want to see a Sinister Six movie now. You tried it once and it didn't work, and now you're trying it again, and you now have 3 movies that suck ass. So why should I get excited for a Sinister Six movie? It's probably just going to be terrible, just like Venom, Venom 2, and now Morbius is. Guys, in the end, Morbius was terrible. I'm done talking about this movie. I've talked about it for too long. I can't believe they made this movie worse than the 2 Venom movies. I didn't think you can get below rock bottom, but here we are. I feel like this character had some promising potential. And by the way, this movie is very tame for a movie about a killer vampire. They mysteriously cut away from every instance where there should be a lot of blood. I mean, a character gets stabbed in the chest, and yet the camera is positioned above the stab wound. Anytime a character gets bit or scratched, it's very shaky and very dark, and they cut away from the blood, so this movie just feels empty and soulless and generic. I really didn't like this movie, and I really hope this movie doesn't do that well. I want Sony to realize that if you want to make a Spider-Man universe, you gotta stop making generic, safe movies. You've done it 3 times now, And I'm probably not going to be on board with what they do next. I'm still excited for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do with Tom Holland's Spider-Man next in the MCU. But for this universe that Sony is trying to do, I think I'm done, because Morbius was a major, major letdown. The one saving grace for me was Jared Leto, and that's really it. Everything else in this movie felt completely flat, and I don't recommend seeing this movie. So guys, that's my review for Morbius. Just like always, if you have seen the movie, let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section. But if you haven't seen the movie, then don't see it. Again, I don't recommend it at all. And just like always, guys, thank you again for watching. My next video is going to be my Blu-ray video for the month of March, so look forward to that very soon. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to like and share it. Subscribe right here if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, take care.